With one punch, I've punched the robot into scrap metal. If I had a few more punches, wouldn't I be invincible? Backtrack released the test results. Level 3 in energy, Level 7 medium range attack, Level 8 low range studio. Overall assessment is Level 7 high range. Looking at the other two people entering the laboratory, Tabin asked if this was enough. Dong Min Tung kept applauding. It was wonderful. Mr. Tu's ability to be a senior instructor was enough. Welcome to Fuang Sun Academy. Tabin's face darkened. In his heart he secretly thought that Backtrack's strength was not something ordinary people could endure. This old fox, if I didn't have a magical body to protect me, I'm afraid I would be destroyed by pain. Dong Min Tung suddenly asked. Teacher Tu's face didn't seem to be very good. Could it be because his clothes were torn? Tabin looked at Dong Min Tung, who was still pretending to be stupid, and was not in the mood to compare with him. He waved his hand, not wanting to add more coconut, and turned to leave. Dong Min Tung laughed and reminded me to come back to class once a week. Lak Kok Tuyat, on the side, said in surprise. The attack was level 7 to 8 but the energy was only level 3. This was also too unusual. Suddenly Dong Min Tung analyzed. There was only one possibility. He had a great secret but had not had a long time to practice. This type of person definitely has a master behind him to guide him. Normally, you have to find opportunities to attract him more, find ways to get to know the master behind him. His shop most likely has clues from a master, so first think about how to find his shop. There's no need for that kind of trouble. If you want to know, I'll send you a location. If you help me introduce students who have money, let them come and spend money. Tabin went straight home from the academy. Seeing him naked only in a piece of cloth, Li Tan Nhu asked in surprise. How did I become like this? Am I not injured? After knowing that Tabin had nothing to worry about, Mrs. Li, like a curious child, massaged her son's solid muscles from top to bottom, unable to hold back her surprise, and said, Since when did our Bin Bin have muscles like that? Faced with this scene, Tabin could only hastily and embarrassedly run away. He asked permission to go back to his room. While changing clothes, I thought, the original armor in my hand was also broken. I don't know if there is a warranty. Suddenly the door was pushed open. Tu Lang Wei looked at him harshly and asked, Do you have the energy? Tabin knew that paper could not wrap fire, so he frankly admitted, So what? Tu Lang Wei saw him changing clothes. Her face turned red. She called him a pervert. When did he awaken his ability? Put on clothes first. Tabin said sinisterly that he rushed into his brother's room, even calling him by name without any hesitation. If he didn't teach him what to do with him in the future. His mouth was provocative. Don't you like to look at it? Then let you look at it to your heart's content. Don't be rude. Tu Lang Wei was teased until her face turned red. She closed her eyes tightly and threw a punch. She screamed, I tell you, I have exceeded level 4. I punched her. The corner of his mouth slightly raised. Just come here. This Tabin is different from before. Suddenly there was a cracking sound. Tu Lang Wei's fist hit the male lead's 2 quail eggs. The intense pain made Tabin tense. He couldn't help but hug the painful area. His face was full of blue veins. What's going on? His defense has already reached level 8 below. The system reminded that the data was activated in the Golden Crow state. The host's current body was only a level 3 upper stomach. At the dinner table, Li Tan Nhu learned that Tabin had awakened his power. He asked with a happy face, Since when did you awaken your bloodline and become a battle pet master? What kind of star pet do you carry and what are your qualities? Su Bin scratched his head and replied that it had been a long time since he'd replied, and now he only had a little skeleton with him who was probably of average or lower quality. Li Tan Nhu continued to say, It's okay to only bring a low-level skeleton. You have to buy a new star pet. Tomorrow I will consider buying you an intermediate star pet. Tu Lang Wei quickly advised him. He had just awakened. Giving him a good pet was of no use. She shook her head contemptuously and continued to say, The more expensive the star pet, the more expensive the food pet. How could he be able to support him with his little income? Li Tan Nhu quickly kindly asked, Do you have money to pay the store's electricity and water? If it's not enough, tell your mother, don't borrow from outside. Su Bin couldn't help but secretly sigh. This original owner did not seem to be a lamp that had run out of oil. He quickly said, he hasn't earned much lately, just this number. After speaking, he pressed the clock. Suddenly a balance reminder box popped up. The balance was more than 500,000, which was Deep House priority fee. Mother and daughter were also surprised to be able to earn so much money. Tu Lang Wei next to him said frankly, he did not break the law. Tu Bin secretly thought, I can't let them know that I tricked the rich second generation into getting this. He smiled and explained that recently, Fuang Sun Academy suddenly became very popular with Thunder Rats, so he just earned a little money from this movement. Li Tan seemed to breathe a sigh of relief hearing that. Lang Wei should guide his brother more in the future. But Tu Lang Wei acted unconvinced, making Tu Bin follow behind her forever. Tu Bin did not expect Li Tan to support him like this. He was very touched. He smiled softly and said, good girl, come back and take care of me. Some people want to spend money to cultivate strong star pets like Loi Kwang Tu. Inside the mischievous pet shop, suddenly a slim female figure slowly walked into the shop. As soon as Jiang Han Tuyat walked in, he immediately asked the boss, I heard that you were the one who trained Loi Kwang Tu, right? Tu Bin heard that and quickly stood up to welcome guests. After becoming famous, business became much better. He nodded and said, that's right, I raised it. Do you want someone to raise it or nurture it or watch its favor? Seeing Tu Bin admit, Jiang Han Tuyat breathed a sigh of relief. That's right, she directly opened her mouth and said, I want to raise 4 pet beasts. I have to become as strong as Loi Kwang Tu. Tu Bin frowned, playing so big? He hastily introduced that the service to raise that Thunder Rat is limited. Now there is only a general training service with a one-time fee. Jiang Han Tuyat frowned thoughtfully. Is there a limit? Is it impossible to copy that Loi Kwang Tu? She quickly asked, so how effective is general training? Tu Bin immediately introduced that although it could not be compared to that training, it could still increase the pet's strength. Low-level star pets are 10,000 each time. Mid-level star pets are 100,000 each time. But Jiang Han Tuyat's expression immediately became serious, increasing a bit. This way of speaking is not professional at all. Is this store using Loi Kwang Thu's name to scam money? It's not worth paying attention to anymore. Jiang Han Tuyat made up her mind to turn around and leave. Tu Bin looked at Jiang Han Tuyat with an uncertain expression, not knowing what she was thinking, and quickly held back. Suddenly, the system sent out a signal because the customer was suspicious and cancelled the original order, causing actual damage to the store. So it allowed the owner to conduct one-time professional training, but the cost was 100 times more than the original repair fee. Practice normally. Training period is 30 days, requires training pets qualifications to reach intermediate or higher level. The system displays such detailed information. Tu Bin also finds it a bit hard to believe. So is there still professional training? The reward includes a mid-level elemental pill and magic, but the price is 100 times higher than normal. Will anyone really buy it? Jiang Han Tuyat heard Tu Bin hold back, turned around and said coldly, do you have anything else to say, boss? Tu Bin haha laughed. I can understand wanting to improve the ability of star pets, but the cost of raising Loi Kwang rats is relatively high. Normal customers are afraid they cannot afford it. Jiang Han Tuyat looked like she was a rich person, looked up and asked how much. I still had some savings. Tu Bin suddenly raised a finger and said, 100,000 for professional fostering fees. The fee is 100 times higher than normal standards. Low-level pets are 1 million. Jiang Han Tuyat's eyes showed a smile. Isn't this price too expensive? She looked at Tu Bin suspiciously, very suspicious that he ran away with the money. Her expression changed slightly and she asked owner Tu Bin, didn't he rent this store? Just because the professional training fee was 1 million, he was suspected of running away. Tu Bin understood her concerns and smiled and explained that the store was absolutely reputable. You can go to the website of Fuang Sun Academy to check. I am not only the owner of this store, but also a senior figure of Fuang Sun. My name is Tu Bin, you can check. Looking at you so young, you're probably a second-year junior. If you dare to lie, don't blame your senior for making it impossible to live. She raised her head to look at Tu Bin, then looked down at the screen. This face was exactly the same person. Jiang Han Tuyat seemed to have seen a ghost and did not hesitate to reveal any surprises. Looking at such a young Tabin, I didn't expect that he was a senior instructor. At least he had to have the status of a senior battle pet master to be able to take on this position, and he was also considered a member of the combat team. Is the strongest team. Tabin smiled and said surprisingly, "Old lady, can I live in Fuang Sun?" After confirming Tabin's identity, Jiang Han Tuyat was a bit embarrassed. It was too rude to doubt her in front of her like that. She bowed her head and said to Tabin. At this moment, Tabin is very satisfied with this identity. He was also lazy to talk nonsense. In the store, he called me the store owner. If he wanted to create trouble, please come back and prepare the money. Jiang Han Tuyat was a bit embarrassed. The boss was right, but my money wasn't much. Then don't hesitate anymore. Pay directly with Tabin to buy professional nurturing services. With Tabin's permission, Jiang Han Tuyat opened the summoning space and called a star pet like a pink pig to come out and introduce himself. A level 3 bloodline celestial pig, similar to a thunder rat, has grown up but only has level 3 strength. Suddenly, Tabin received a text message to receive money. It was a large sum of money. 1 million was immediately converted into 10,000 energy points. His expression changed as he looked at the notice board. Poverty had limited his imagination. 1 million is said to be given. It seems deep house 500,000 is still a little. My boss doesn't look very well. He doesn't welcome me or anything. Please don't take what happened just now. After the island is finished, I still want to give you a gift. Tabin smiled and thought to himself, what a fat sheep. He wanted to spread out the carpet and invite them to step on it. He waved his hand liberally. Rest assured that I will treat my guests the same. I have to start training. If there's nothing else, please come back later. Come again next month to pick up the star pet. Jiang Han Tuyat was secretly startled. Not only did she not care about the things she took for granted, in just one short month, she completed the level 7 intensity nurturing stage. How generous of a master this is. She hastily expressed her deep respect and sincerely thanked Master Tu for his training. The system pops up a suggestion. The upgrade fee has been converted into energy. The remaining energy is 1048. Tabin looked at the displayed information and was confused. Should he upgrade the spiritual pond or upgrade the store? He analyzed the situation. It cost 1000 energy to enter the Thundercloud Sea World training. If you want to become a Thunder Rat, you have to go at least twice. But the energy is not enough to do so. Professional training opportunities only come once, so be careful. If you use this energy to upgrade the beast slot, you can increase the rate of drawing the king beast. The male protagonist was extremely hesitant, but suddenly the system changed the screen again. New information display. Training space entrance fee can be paid later. Star pets that have not yet been trained can rest after finishing training before needing to use the breeder slot. The primary clone of the star pet will simulate the actions of the carrying host as usual, but each time the clone is used, a 50% fee must be paid. Tabin couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, was this so good? Although nurturing normally only earns 50 points, every day we regularly receive 10 applications, and it takes 20 days to pay back. While Tabin was still deep in thought, a group of people appeared outside the pet shop, pointing and gossiping. The incident at the academy yesterday had become widely known. A crowd rushed into the store. Everyone wanted to send their pets. Tabin saw this and smiled slightly. Without hesitation, he pressed the store upgrade button. Don't worry, I can accept everything. Now entering the training site. Star fragment number 9527 is a suitable place to cultivate the fire element. It can be revived 30 times within 7 days of being sent. As soon as he touched his feet, he realized that he had arrived at the nursery, unlocking the shadow clone function for the first time, requiring him to conduct a complete training session. Tabin saw this and immediately activated his clone. After using 200 energy, a purple shadow suddenly appeared on his body, gradually separating from him. A moment later, a purple vase appeared among a group of pet animals. This clone would connect with his consciousness. Instead of him going towards training pet beasts, the shadow clone will inherit part of his personality and intelligence, and the ability to act on his own is generally simpler. The important point when training star pets lies in the environmental attributes. The stronger the fire element, the more beneficial it is for training fire element star pets. A moment later, Tabin came to the underground lava lake. In front of him there was only fire and hot lava up to 2000 degrees, surrounded by only blackened rocks. He was satisfied that it was very good here. Tabin suddenly squatted down next to the rock, slowly touching the lava below with his fingers, ready to withdraw his hand at any time. But at the moment of touch, he discovered that it was not as painful as he imagined. This temperature was completely acceptable to him. Before, when fighting with Bok Trak, there was also fire, but that temperature was enough to burn someone to death, even activating the golden owl posture. Could this be due to the golden crow divine demon body? Anyway, it can be revived, so decided to take a look. Thinking so, Tabin immediately dipped his hand into the lava. As expected, he was not burned, instead the wild fire element seemed to be tamed. The golden crow himself is a god and demon who loves fire, and fire is the golden crow's natural bloodline. Tabin was driven by curiosity and accidentally discovered the secret of the golden umbrella's bloodline. Suddenly the clone on the side also started studying. Tabin looked at the burned clone and opened his mouth to remind him, "This is not for learning." Then he stepped directly into the lava lake. His clothes quickly burned by the heat. He ordered the clone, "Time is precious. Throw all the star pets down for training." Tabin discovered that the fire element in the lava seemed to be slowly flowing into his body, being absorbed by his body, which was truly comfortable. The feeling is both like eating food and enjoying a hot spring. Behind a group of pet animals, flying chickens and jumping dogs were pushed into the lava lake by his clone. It was clear that they were scared, it was unbearable, and as soon as they entered, they all burned to death. Tabin felt helpless. Weren't they all fire-type star pets? Let's get excited, and directly chose to revive on the spot. The beast had just come back to life in the air. Before he could realize that he had been resurrected, he fell down and died again. Tabin used the memory contract to order again, forcing them to jump down a few more times. The screams of panic continued like that. Su Bin raised them simply and brutally, with no way and no communication, to force them to face life and death. Faced with life and death and the pain of dying, even if the pet beast has extremely poor talent and is extremely lazy, he must force himself to pursue evolution. They all quickly increased their strength, finishing the training in the blink of an eye. Tabin returned to the store. Customers who sent pets to him to raise, saw such results and cheered excitedly. They could learn the average pet within a day. Passers-by saw this and rushed in, also wanting to buy star pets. Tabin looked at the crowd of customers and suddenly felt very good. Everyone line up. One by one. Everyone has their share. After being busy, the system sends out a signal. The income of more than 25,000 is automatically converted into 258 points. The remaining energy is 11,650 points. At first, the male lead thought it would take 20 days to have enough energy. Unexpectedly, after a few days it was finished. Even the feeding ditch was not enough. The money in my pocket had to be spent. He frantically pressed the button to buy more. Suddenly the system reminded me that the feed slot had reached the limit of 25 and could not buy more. I would like to ask if the host wants to upgrade to level 2. The upgrade fee is only 1,000 points each? His face instantly darkened. This system wanted to trick me into spending money, right? Rushing means not upgrading. If you can save then save. Tabin looked at Thien Hong Tru and thought to himself, the main task now is to complete professional training. The entrance ticket to the breeding area is so expensive. If you only train this pig, you will be at a loss. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. My system wants to upgrade to the Chaos Incubation Spiritual Pond. In the blink of an eye, the system sent out a signal. 10,000 energy was lost. 1,650 points remained. The first time Tabin conceived a small bone building. This time he chose to upgrade to Lin Pond and then conceive again. I wonder what result this time will bring. When the energy point disappeared, the 4-pillar spiritual pond lit up with light. This light was much more intense than the previous spiritual pond. Su Bin could feel the surrounding energy 10 times stronger than before. After the upgrade is complete, the system repeats that the ability to become a king beast is very low. Each time you open a pregnancy, you need to spend 1,000 points. It's really expensive. He stood in front of the spiritual pond, clasping his hands together in prayer, heaven and earth. Tabin took a deep breath and decided to open the pregnancy and not beg the king beast. At least give me a level 6 pet. Right at the moment Tabin opened the womb, the skies suddenly changed color along with blood-red thunderstorms. The entire area below became pitch black and headed straight for the chaotic spiritual pond, bringing with it bursts of air currents. After that, the rich energy in the gestating spiritual pond burst forth crazily. In that dark red energy, a dragon's silhouette suddenly appeared with waves of dragon roars. Tabin looked at the scene before him in horror. This huge power made him instantly stunned. A stream of energy surrounds the central core. When the energy retracts, the beast's appearance is completely revealed. Tabin was surprised to discover that this was a bamboo dragon beast purgatory. Fire Element Dragon Clan Level 9, currently Level 3 Strategy, mastering Dragon Breath and Dragon Prestige skills. Tabin couldn't help but caress the bamboo dragon beast's head. He really wished to see it, Level 9 and then level up again to become a Bloodline Beast King. It's really cool. The Purgatory Bamboo Dragon Beast immediately became angry and blocked the thunder, opening its mouth and emitting a dragon roar. It was like he was warning Tabin that the Dragon Clan's strictness did not allow others to touch his head. The Bamboo Dragon Beast suddenly spit fire at Tabin, aiming at him and making a move. He secretly thought that this little dragon had a bad temper. Tabin suddenly reached out and grabbed the dragon's mouth tightly. He's a champion in the store. He gently used his strength to lift the bamboo dragon beast from purgatory, threatening to sign a contract with me. Bamboo Dragon Beast felt something was wrong, his eyes frantically showing his whereabouts. When the blood-printed Spirit Beast contract entered the Bamboo Dragon Beast purgatory, Su Bin suddenly felt a small awareness in his consciousness. The contract was successful. Suddenly Tabin received a text message. There was a public discussion with third-year students in the afternoon. He needed to be there early. At Fuang Sun Academy, someone is waiting for the male lead. The head of the operations department looked at his watch and whispered that he had already disregarded discipline on the first day of class and could not ignore it like that. Lak Kok Tuyat next to him quickly explained. Teacher 2 is not familiar with the route. Maybe he's lost. Homeroom teacher, please go to class first. The director suddenly burst out with obvious dissatisfaction. The old man had only been out for a few days, and the operations department had already become like this. I heard that the new arrival was still recommended by you, without informing the old man. Are you now the commander of the operations department? It was the first time Tabin attended a class with the teacher's instructions. He was about to open the class but still no one came, and the director of the operations department directly directed his dissatisfaction to Lak Kok Tuyat. She quickly said that if Tabin was late, I would be responsible. She was worried in her heart, so Tabin should come here quickly. Suddenly with a thud, Tabin jumped down from nowhere. A very formal appearance, the director of the operations department next to him looked at the young man in front of him suspiciously. Are you new? Tabin thought to himself as he retrieved the bamboo dragon beast. Luckily he arrived on time. It was because he rode the bamboo dragon beast that he arrived in time, smiling and saying that he was my servant. In class, Lang Wei is concentrating on cultivating in class, while his classmates are discussing. The new operations department has an instructor, especially young, about whom there is no information online. The conversations continued endlessly, interrupting Lang Wei's practice. She furrowed her eyebrows and said that young people can be teachers, that's because they have the strength and have the time to talk a lot rather than practice. Is your dream to become a senior instructor? You're so naive, you just need to practice and you can become a guru? Suddenly the teachers walked in. Lak Kok Tuyat spoke first. Everyone was silent. Class had begun. This public class was explained by the director of the operations department and the teacher. Regarding the documents from the deserted area that teacher 2 was in charge of helping, the kids suddenly shouted in surprise. That teacher too was not much younger than us and had already become a teacher. The students next to Deep How don't think it's right. This is nothing. With the power of our God Deep. After 2 years we can do it easily. Deep How, a defeated general under Tabin's hands, was suddenly unbearably embarrassed and quickly coughed a few times to tell him to stop talking. But To Lang Wei's mind was shaking. She stood up directly and shouted his name. Why was he up there? No mistake. Suddenly a student raised his hand and said, I heard that you are a demon slayer, is it true? Can you tell us the details? These words were considered to be asking everyone's heart, and suddenly there were whispers around, because most of the people who saw the demon marrow beast were already dead. Tabin frowned, quickly waved his hand to signal everyone to be quiet. He slowly said, Of course you can tell. But that is not the focus of today's lesson. When I have a chance, I will explain more clearly. The homeroom teacher laughed. He's only been a teacher for a day and he's already making a price? Everyone is making noise again. Show your bravery. Otherwise how can you prove that you have the ability to teach us? But Deep How secretly thought, I am also very curious about what his strength is. How he trained to make his star pet so strong. And To Lang Wei feels like his brother's life is about to end. What does his newly awakened brother have to do with ghost beasts? He will be embarrassed to death. And Lak Kok Tuyat said, I can guarantee Tabin's strength. The homeroom teacher next to him directly interrupted. Ms. Lak just let him perform, and her recent achievements were not very convincing. The students on the stage immediately laughed out loud after listening. The story of Lak Kok Tuyat almost being killed by a magical beast, everyone knew. At this moment, she couldn't refute, she could only humbly apologize to the homeroom teacher. Tabin's eyes suddenly became serious. The homeroom teacher said to Tabin, Teacher 2, please show off a bit. If rumors don't appear, thanks to your relationship, it won't be good to be a teacher. Tabin silently lamented in his heart, even in the army or the academy, he wouldn't let me live in peace. Immediately he raised his hand to open the summoning space, and by the way warned that the price to pay for this is very expensive. A small marrow arm jumped out from the summoning space, and everyone was waiting to watch with vigilance. In an instant, everyone burst into laughter, and the homeroom leader also laughed. Don't attack the students, I can take responsibility for the rest. I'm Bin in command. Take back your strength and don't hurt anyone. Slowly pulling out the bone blade. The red in the eye sockets shined uncertainly. The little skeleton slowly pulled out the blade. At this moment, To Lang Wei was so embarrassed that she no longer had the face to look at people. She was muttering madly in her heart. What can this low-level demon do? I only saw the small bone's entire body emitting black energy that covered the bone's body, like a demon head exuding ice-cold murderous aura. It quickly pulled out its sword and slashed straight into the open space ahead. The black blade gas flew for more than 10 meters. The ground was instantly torn apart. Wide cracks appeared. There was also smoke sizzling from the slash, constantly vibrating. Everyone shouted in surprise. In this moment, I finally understood why this young man could become a senior teacher. Just the sword technique that this little bone skeleton used made countless high-level star pets cry out SOS. Tiukot slowly retracted the knife. His movements were skillful. Just one knife shocked the whole audience. The students sitting in the front row were so scared that even their hair trembled. It was terrifying. This is not a level 1 little dry skull move that should be available. And Deep How also had a gloomy face. Even if the snake and dragon beast were present, he was afraid he wouldn't be able to survive 2 moves. To Lang Wei looked at this scene in bewilderment. A low-level marrow worm had such a strong ability. Didn't Scrap Brother just awaken his ability? Tabin glanced at all the students and slowly said, Is that enough now? Do we need to perform again? Lak Kok Tuyat on the side couldn't help but cover her mouth and secretly laugh. The homeroom teacher quickly said goodbye. Don't joke anymore. This classroom is made from special materials, all of which can resist level 8 ball throwing intensity. But unexpectedly, he was cut to pieces by a knife from a small marrow tower. Tabin saw this and immediately opened the space to retrieve the small bones. Those who did not agree raised their hands and welcomed them to study. The whole class was as cold as sheets. No one dared to make noise anymore. Tabin saw this and spoke up again. Why did he bow his head without saying a word? No one else had an opinion, so let's start the lesson. The students below the stage immediately nodded, and then the class began to proceed in an orderly manner. After class, some classmates exclaimed that this was the quietest class in my life. Even the sound of hair falling to the ground could be heard, but no one thought or took notes, because of the everyone's attention has been focused on the crack of the urinal. After finishing class, Tabin was allowed to return to the pet shop. Incidentally, the vice principal turned out to be an instructor, which is too rude. Dong Min Tung haha laughed when he heard that his first lesson made the students obedient. Truly a top talent of our Fuang son. Tabin quietly opened the door, thinking to himself, what is this old fox paying attention to? It's not like you're coming to walk with me. Suddenly a man came and enthusiastically greeted Tabin. It's been a long time since I've seen brother too, and he's a member of the golden medal list, Deep Tran Sun. The three of them went into the shop to drink tea, and Tabin suddenly said why it was so quiet this afternoon. There wasn't even a customer. Deep Tran Sun explained that Deep had something to discuss with brother too, so he ordered people to evacuate this road. Deep Mo will compensate for lost revenue. Tabin laughed loudly and ordered the guests to be dismissed. The vice principal, my friend, has something to tell. But Dong Min Tung Hamlet also said, actually, I have something to do with looking for teacher too. Not long now, the World Championship is about to take place. The elite tournament is held every 3 years. Only pet masters with less than level 7 of elite strength can participate. The champion, in addition to a great reward, can also be directly taught by a legendary battle pet master. Generations of champions have all successfully advanced to the title level, and some of those disciples have become even more legendary battle pets and admirers, able to protect the safety of the entire continent. If Mr. Ta wants to participate, I can approve a 1-year leave application while still having salary and benefits. The bonus after the match is of course self-received. Tabin directly refused, temporarily not intending to take the exam. And Dong Min Tung was also suddenly confused. As a battle pet master, was he not interested in the elite tournament? Tabin secretly thought to himself, thinking he was a dumb kid or something. If he won the championship, it would mean the whole world would know. With my reputation now, it's enough to make money. If I continue to be famous, maybe others will pay attention to me, relying on the safer leveling system. Next to Deep Tran Sun, he suddenly shook his head and sighed. Deep originally planned to invite the two brothers to visit the secret place together. Unfortunately, he had no intention of participating in the elite tournament, so forget it. Tabin wondered what the secret realm was. But Dong Min Tung couldn't help but ask, do you mean the 3 great secret realms unique to Asia, came to find Tabin to secretly go to the secret realm? Dong Min Tung next to him revealed some understanding of the secret realm. Deep Tran Sun immediately wondered, this matter is a secret. Only people who have reclaimed silver and below know. How do you know? Dong Min Tung stroked his beard and smiled. Before retiring, the old man was also considered a rich pioneer. Tabin was in a fog, saying don't tease me, just say it out loud. The star crack leads to the common star field, even if the treasures found are only minerals or primitive creatures. The 3 star cracks, Long Dai Sun, Kim Kok Ha and Ma Then Jia are all places where civilization once existed, even surpassing the Blue Star region. Even though it has long since perished, it is said that the sacred weapon unearthed is so small that no money can buy it. Being big can change the world, it can even help us understand the universe. Tabin couldn't believe it, couldn't help but praise it so strongly, it was another concept of that dimension. Dong Min Tung slowly opened his mouth to remind, there were too many monsters and secret agencies that kept countless powerful people who tried to go in and explore but never came back out. Therefore, secret landscape was blocked by the federal government before organizing the global tournament to invite safer areas for elite competitors. Deep Tran Sun bowed his head and sighed, that's right. Deep was lucky enough to be qualified to visit the outer basket of the Long Dai Sun secret landscape area. Now looking for teammates because of this, it's a pity that Brother Ta has no intention of participating in the tournament. As Tabin said himself, although I was not interested in the tournament, Both Deep Tran Sun and Deputy Teacher Dong's eyes shone, waiting for Tabin to speak. But in his heart, he secretly thought that the training system covered all things, and the secret realm dragon platform might also be one of them. Those ferocious beasts and unknown organs were nothing worth mentioning before the infinite resurrection move of the system. Suddenly he opened his mouth and smiled and said, I can think about this secret scene for a bit. By the time I finished talking to those two people, night had already fallen, and customers had been waiting outside all day wanting to come in and buy. Tabin smiled and said, sorry, customers haven't arrived yet. Please come tomorrow, the store is about to close. Customers are always waiting in long lines. Hearing that, if you want to rent a hotel nearby, you must make arrangements to raise your pet. After closing, Tabin couldn't help but move around a bit, not used to the sudden boom in business, not even having time to practice during the day. Suddenly he signaled the system to open the training interface. In the afternoon, Deep Tran Sun mentioned the secret place, which made him very interested. He quickly said to help me find the secret place Long Dai Sun. The system coldly responded to the query with no results. Tabin is also a bit surprised, so look for all the high-end breeding places with the word dragon. Suddenly the system shoots out a training illusion that meets the conditions. Dragon King passed the test, drawing 2,000 energy points. After learning of the existence of the secret realm, Tabin took advantage of the quiet night to quickly investigate the system from which he filtered out the Dragon King's test transmission. In Tabin's heart, he thought, look at this dragon. It must be this one. He was curious and asked if the secret realm was any different from other island creations. The system displays the answer, transmitting the illusion as the name. Illusion is an illusion. The host cannot carry anything except for training and fighting. He asked again, illusion is more than twice as expensive as the Thundercloud Sea World and the entrance ticket to the Chaos Death Spirit World. Why is it so expensive? Each place in the inheritance site has a king's soul, waiting for the strong to pass the test to inherit. The king's soul has a completely different level. It's not easy for anyone who wants to come. Tabin secretly quipped that the king's soul could not be reproduced, so it was fine to copy other treasures. He thought for a moment, the entrance ticket was too expensive. It would be a disadvantage if he only brought in the dry rice. Tabin went to the nursery to see the star pet resting here. Suddenly he remembered the dog that urinated when he first arrived at the store. The owner of this dog left it here for too long without coming to claim it. In this case, either the owner of the hunting dog died or the dog was abandoned. No matter what kind it is, this dog is his. Tabin tried touching the dog, trying to make a contract with it. Very quickly, the contract character was formed and consciousness reconnected. Of course, the contract was successfully signed to specialize in Level 1 Moondogs. The type is Combat System, Level 1 Strategy, Low-Level Aptitude, Screaming and Biting Skills. Tabin silently sighed in his heart. His previous guess was completely correct. Its owner may have passed away unexpectedly, staying with me for so long. Just follow me and do well in the future. He immediately opened the summoning space to take back the Moondog. Next, Tabin was in another place and died 10 times. Tabin brought the dragon beast along with Thien Hong Chu and Tiu Mai Lao and the dog Moon Moon, which had just signed a contract, and entered the Dragon King's inheritance land. This time, when I revived, I found myself standing in a long stretch of mist, which was a giant skeleton of more than 1,000 meters. Thuongvu is powerful, carrying an indescribably great breath. Tabin raised his head to evaluate, both surprised and at the same time feeling that this image was a bit familiar. The ancient dull sound echoed extremely loudly, shaking the entire surrounding space. You all came here to endure the test of my inheritance. When Tabin heard it, he immediately knew that it was this illusionary inheritance that was made up of the Dragon King's soul that was talking. Su Bin knew that this was a process of setting up a system to quickly enter the inheritance and practice field, and answered the short call to accept. The next moment, Tabin felt the space vibrate, the ground emitting bursts of golden light. The old dragon was still in dry mist, but has now revived. From the ground right at Tabin's feet, a super large pillar floated up, looking like a pagoda, with a total of 9 floors. Tabin quickly asked, "What is this?" Suddenly, a voice from the Dragon King spirit appeared into Bin's mind. The 9th floor is the highest floor. Climbing to the 9th floor is considered to be qualified to apply for inheritance. Bin asked doubtfully, is it just the eligibility to apply? How can I inherit? When I fell, my flesh and blood flew everywhere and turned into the sky. The scattered dragon scales turned into 109 continents and turned into the ground. But the dragon scale knowledge earth has been polluted, giving birth to countless demons. We must purify all the demons inside, then we can restore the king's soul. Those who reach the 9th floor will have to go through the final inheritance test, after knowing the entire inheritance process. Bin couldn't help but exclaim, this Dragon King inheritance test was too complicated, but the existence of these levels was far superior to the king beasts. Its legacy cannot be simple, but although it is convenient to be passed down, cleaning those 109 dragon scales is an extremely complex and elaborate project. It is said to be a dragon scale, but it is actually an entire continent. Inside there are all kinds of demonic beasts, even the existence of king beasts. To be completely purified, at least one must have the strength of Battle Pet Master Tran Ky. Bin regained his composure. There was a door under the dragon pillar. He led 4 pet animals in. After entering the dragon pillar, the voice of Vong Hun comes again. The challenger must learn to fear it. Bin immediately felt that the surrounding dragon's prestige was even heavier. It seems like in the surrounding darkness there is an evil dragon glaring at you. The psychological illusion caused by this pressure can easily make people turn away and run away, unable to bear it. Suddenly, from the front came the pitiful cry of Shay Wei Kuyan. Bin couldn't help but wonder. The dog Chase the Moon followed me inside, but the sound came from inside. Immediately, all 4 sides heard the pitiful cries of other pet beasts. Bin was suddenly stunned on the spot, but it was coming from different directions. Could it be that there was a ghost here? In his hand, he quickly turned on the flashlight on his watch, illuminating the dark space ahead. Bin raised his head and saw something appear in the darkness. They were 2 large statues with an overwhelming presence. Next to Bin, he was as arrogant as a bamboo dragon beast, but his scales trembled and stood up. Next to him, the celestial beings were also scared. Bin wished he couldn't get under the ground. He felt a bit helpless, but it turned out that he just bumped into the wall, shaking his head. This wall structure is probably the original sound disturbance, but this layer can't be that simple. What does mean? Bin went deep inside the dragon pillar and suddenly discovered 2 statues in front. Just when he was thinking how simple the first floor was, the statue next to him suddenly raised its weapon, silently aiming at his back. No matter how alert Bin was, he still didn't know, but luckily a small bone quickly appeared to block this punch. The male lead suddenly realized that the statue of the gatekeeper was a living thing, so the other statue probably wasn't. Without waiting for him to react, a huge sharp sword directly killed him. After the male lead died on the spot with a knife, his star pets were immediately disturbed. The system prompt sounds, the host has died, there are 9 revivals remaining. Bin secretly analyzed in his heart that just now, by gathering a point into the original armor, maybe he could resist that knife, but it was too fast. Luckily, there was a young meddler to help me, otherwise I wouldn't know how I would have died. He chose to be resurrected on the spot. In a moment, after being brought back to the original place, Bin and the pet animals stood between 2 giant statues. Bin cautiously looked at the statue in front of him and remained silent. The statue also waited silently without moving, returning to the state it was in when he first arrived. Bin thought for a moment, then turned on the flashlight in his hand, still looking ahead. As soon as the light appeared, the 2 statues jumped up and ran towards him at the same time, pointing their swords and wanting to send him off to prey. Bin was thinking about carrying the bag. The little bone next to him quickly blocked the front, holding the peach bone in his hand, and appeared again to protect Bin. This time Bin had an idea in mind. He slowly told the little skeleton not to move. He raised his hand to turn off the light. The 2 statues once again returned to a state of silence. The 2 large swords stopped just a few centimeters in front of his body. Bin's fingers gently touched the tip of the sword. Inwardly, I thought that's right. Learning to be afraid means knowing not to look directly at Long Nyan. After understanding the rule, Tabin did not give up and continued to grope forward in the dark. The pet animals also followed closely behind and moved silently. The gunmaster's senses are far superior to those of ordinary people, especially being able to feel the energy flowing around him. Even if he loses his sight, he will not fall into a passive situation. But under the oppression of Longwei, in such a large area, one must always be alert to the surrounding dangers and must consume a large amount of spiritual power, which is not something a battle pet master can do for a long time. Fortunately, he has seen through the rules of the first level and can focus entirely on sensing direction and resisting oppression. I also practiced in other places, and soon became a habit. Finding the way out is now as easy as taking things out of my bag. In just a few moments, Tabin reached the exit. In the darkness suddenly appeared a golden dragon beast with dirty fangs, swinging its paws at the male lead and hissing. The powerful sound, the imposing manner, the purgatory-wishing dragon beast saw it and immediately raised all its scales on its body, constantly making screams of fear. And Tabin also keenly noticed that movement. There was a murderous aura that was quickly approaching him, and suddenly he realized something was wrong. This murderous aura has a slight flaw, that is, it does not come from a living thing. This golden dragon is clearly an illusion. The illusion cannot harm his body, although the illusion contains the power of a dragon soul and some of the Dragon King's aura. But there was nothing more than that. At the exit to the first floor, the dragon soul's illusion directly passed through the bodies of Tabin and the pet beasts. Except for the little bone, the other three were all scared to death, so he continued to walk inside without slowing down. Tabin calmly opened his eyes and heard the voice of the king's soul. Congratulations to the challenger on passing the first test. Please go to the second floor. The image changed. Tabin returned to the store a little tired. Purgatory Dragon Beast strategy increased to level 4, mastered Dragon Roar skill. Specialize in Moon Dog strategy and increased to level 3, mastering the Rage skill. Thien Hongchu also leveled up, reaching level 3 strategy. In addition to the pollen resistance skill, there is also acute toxicity. The Little Dry Skull strategy has increased to level 8, mastering the skill of fighting dragons. Su Bin exclaimed that the Dragon Bone Tower reached the 8th floor in one breath. The achievement was not bad. Thien Hongchu accompanied him 2 to 3 more times and his training was completed, but the person guarding the 9th strategic floor was level 9. Even though the level 8 Little Skeleton can comprehend the Dragon Clan and overcome the Dragon Clan, it is still not an opponent. The gap between level 8 and level 9 is very large. It seems that we have to wait for the little bone to absorb all of the Vong Lin King's blood pearls to have a chance to undo the problem. The next morning, we welcomed a new day. There was a shady person lurking in front of the mischievous pet store, wanting to expose Tabin's secret. Tu Langwei thought that his useless brother clearly couldn't even receive a level 4 punch, so how could he be a high-ranking teacher? There's definitely something shady behind this. Let's see how I expose you. Outside the pet store, one could see from afar that many people were waiting, all of them young people. Tabin rode an iron horse to the shop. In her heart, Tu Langwei secretly thought, what's going on? It's still so early and yet it's already here. In the past, wasn't the door opened at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon? A sharp-eyed student saw Tabin and immediately rejoiced and cheered. The crowd immediately flocked towards him. There are many familiar faces who are old regulars. Tu Langwei quietly analyzed. Those people seemed to trust his brother as if they had seen a lifeline. Could this be multi-level? Tabin slowly pushed the cart, repeating the old rules. Everyone lined up in order. Everyone there responded to him in unison. Suddenly from the crowd came Deep Hao's voice. Can you give way for a moment? Just when those kids were about to refuse, after discovering that the person coming was Deep Hao, he quickly pleased and said that it was young Master Deep. Sure, please come in. Small screams around immediately rang out, and young Master Deep also came. The crowd immediately separated to make room for Deep Hao. At this moment, Tu Langwei's heart was extremely frightened. Wasn't that Deep Hao? The Academy's annual champion, the third-year champion, came to find his scrap brother. Isn't he the one who encountered Deep Hao's feathers? Meanwhile, Deep Hao walked slowly from the crowd to respectfully greet him. Bin was unhappy and didn't bother to ask what was going on. He laughed out loud. It's true that noble people are so busy that they often forget. Don't you remember my silver snake and dragon beast? Do you remember 500,000? The silver snake and dragon beasts summoned from the summoning space opened their mouths slightly. Suddenly, the wind blew up from all four directions, causing hair to fly off my eyelids. In the blink of an eye, smoke dispersed around, causing the crowd of people gathered around watching to be blown back a few steps by the wind. The silver snake and beast's hearts simply moved their bodies a little, and the surrounding 8 directions were pushed away. Such terrifying dragon beast power is so powerful here. What did Deep Hao summon the silver snake and lightning dragon beast to do? Could it be that he wanted revenge on the performance competition day? He showed a proud smile and said, after seeing my handsome and heroic silver snake and thunder beast heart, he remembered the training thing. Bin's head wanted to show 3 dots. He brought his bike to the front of the shop. Thinking what was going on, he squatted down to lock the bike and thought to himself. The silver snake and dragon beast are written at level 9. When will the system unlock high-level star pets? The system displayed the answer. You just need to complete 1 professional training session and upgrade the store to level 3. Bin couldn't help but tease. The condition before upgrading the store must be to expand the area to 3,000 square meters. Koa is like that, opening a store or factory. Several young people around saw that Deep Hao's level 9 pet beast, Dragon Beast, also chose this store to raise, and immediately they found a trustworthy store. It was like finding some hidden treasure, feeling extremely happy. There were also people who said, level 9 bloodline is very rare. If the boss here has never trained a dragon beast, then it's nothing more than empty talk. Before, there were only lightning rats and small bones. I've never seen Boss Su fostering high-class star pets. Deep Hao also stepped forward and asked, don't say you've never nurtured an animal's heart. Deep Hao is famous for raising high-class bloodline star pets, and the people around him are probably the same. If we let him know the truth, we will lose many potential customers in the future. Bin now pulled out the blood-red summoning space. The corner of his mouth curled up and said, not much training, just occasionally. At first I wanted this child to grow up, but now I have to call it out for everyone to laugh at. From the opening in the space, an atmosphere filled with heat and a strong stench made everyone immediately retreat. Even Lang Wei stood and watched from afar. He couldn't help but shiver. This stench, what is my brother keeping? Purgatory Bamboo Dragon Beast jumped out of the summoning space and stood right behind Bin. Even though he's not yet mature enough, he looks very powerful. Under Bin's command, it opened its mouth wide. Long Wei instantly unleashed his fierce power that the surrounding people couldn't stand and were forced to kneel on the ground by the power. Beside Deep Hao, his heart also trembled. The feeling of oppression was so strong. As for the silver snake dragon beast, in front of the more advanced bamboo dragon beast, he immediately bowed his body in submission. Deep Hao saw that his pet's physical appearance was much clearer, but with such an expression, he couldn't help but cry out what was going on. Bin waved his hand to signal the purgatory bamboo dragon beast to cower. He slowly explained, Deep Hao, you are wrong. The reason why the silver dragon beast subdued was not Long Ui, but the absolute suppression that came from the bloodline. Deep Hao somewhat did not believe what Bin just said. He could not imagine what kind of high-class bloodline it was. Bin opened his mouth again. Level 9 is a level with great power. The gap can even be greater than the total strength of levels 1 to 8. Between high-level and low-level star pets there already exists blood suppression system, but the Dragon Clan is the most dignified race. The best evidence is that the Silver Snake Torpedo Dragon Beast needs to go through practice to learn the dragon prestige that the Purgatory Bamboo Dragon Beast was born knowing. Hearing this, Deep Hao's face turned white, then red, and quickly expressed that he understood. In his heart, he secretly thought that Boss Su only raised a level 9 dragon beast, so he had to go to the trouble to question someone. Bin turned around and patted Deep Hao on the shoulder. Don't worry, I understand if you want to increase your strength. When it's your turn, I won't forget. As soon as Deep Hao heard it, his face immediately brightened. But Tabin was smiling happily in his heart, and this fat goat was already in the hot pot. Tu Langwei watched from afar, her legs softening in fear. Her recent experiences have made her a bit skeptical about life. It wasn't a dream, since when did her brother become so powerful? After the mischievous pet store opened, people immediately began to line up neatly and orderly to enter the store to shop. The star pets entered the store first, because their owners had been lining up since dawn. As soon as they arrived, they were immediately summoned. Last time Tabin easily awakened a mid-level pet skill, this time their owner wanted to continue raising them. The male lead saw the familiar pet and rubbed his hands. Hello old friends. We meet again. Waiting in line to pay was awkward. Do you four remember me? The pet beasts saw the familiar face, simultaneously showing their hair stand on end, and quickly curled their butts and ran away. Night fell. Boss Tu was busy all day looking at today's income and was quite happy. All money collected today will be converted into 43,000 energy. Tabin began to ponder. Upgrading the store required 10,000 energy and also needed to complete professional training. Expanding the store to 3,000 square meters, not to mention buying in the inner city, the cheapest remote suburban place also requires 4 to 5,000 per square meter, which works out to 150 million. If successfully upgraded, the ability to make money will increase significantly. You can also use that as an excuse to bring your mother and Tu Langwei back to live, so you can stay at the store all day, enjoying the system's protection. Except for the ridiculously expensive price, this deal is better than falling jackfruit leaves turning into money. But the problem is how to make so much money. He thought about going to reclaim land, but it was too dangerous. If it wasn't to exchange points for materials to cultivate the golden crow god demon body, he didn't want to go at all. What about borrowing money? Use purgatory to wish the dragon beast as collateral in exchange for the 1 million loan, but you probably won't be able to support it when you pay it back. So the only thing left that can be used is this senior professor status. At Longjiang Base, Thuongtan area, on the official website of Longjiang's elite tutor, the prices of professors from levels 7 to 9 are all over 1 million per hour. Hua Kuang sat in front of the computer, looking at the website screen, searching for a suitable professor for him. Pulling back and forth, why can't you teach the undead beast to pet you? There will be an elite tournament coming up. He is rushing to practice, wanting to take advantage of the last bit of time. It was indeed a scam website. He held his chin and sighed, wanting to train a pet beast of the undead system. Why was it so difficult? Suddenly he lowered his head to look at the notice board. There was an account named Longjiang the Handsome One sending him a message. Late at night in Longjiang City, the taxi temporarily took Tabin out of the slum area, into the bustling downtown area. The car stopped in front of a quiet subdivision. Tabin rarely goes to Thuongtan. The car ride costs more than 1,000 crystal coins. He couldn't help but exclaim that going to the street to play puzzles was a waste of money. Even though he earned a lot here, the price of goods was not low. Tabin stepped forward, and immediately in front of the community's door, several guards raised their hands to stop him. A security guard frowned and said, judging by the way he was dressed, he definitely didn't belong here. Unauthorized people were forbidden to enter here. Tabin heard people say he was a useless person, but he didn't bother to compare himself with the other person. He sadly checked the page for stories with Hua Kuang. Looking at the cheesy icons Hua Kuang sent made him want to vomit. He showed his message to the security guard and said, I'm looking for Hua Kuang, please show me the way. As soon as the security guard heard this, he broke out in a cold sweat. It turned out to be Master Hua's guest. Please come this way. At this time, Hua Kuang is practicing fighting with a level 3 mode robot. Hua Kuang lamented that this intensity was not enough. The next action of the protection level robot was immediately adjusted to level 4 upper position, rushing towards Hua Kuang and releasing a fist. Hua Kuang calmly responded, raising one hand to roll his energy towards himself, then immediately rushed towards his opponent. The condensed energy directly hit the robot, immediately creating a loud noise. The spot where he was hit is now an empty hole. The wound is clearly fatal. Repeat this several times, even if the robot cannot continue fighting. At the entrance, someone was shouting loudly for young Master Hua Kuang. The guest he had promised had arrived. Hua Kuang looked forward to hastily clasping his hands together to say, "Senior, you have finally come." Bin looked at the huge training field and thought to himself, rich people can really do whatever they want. If this training field doesn't lose, then compete with Fuang Sun. Seeing the person who had just arrived, Hua Kuang felt suspicious and waved his hand to signal the security guard to leave. He thought to himself, what the hell, why is this person so young? Hua Kuang spent a large amount of money to invite the handsome first Long Jiang to come, wanting to have the strong man personally train him in actual combat. Seeing that the person who came was too young, Hua Kuang touched his face and asked, "Are you an assistant or a student of the handsome first Long Jiang?" Bin humbly introduced himself as the handsome first Long Jiang. Hua Kuang couldn't help but pick up his phone for a moment before speaking. "Are you the handsome senior Long Jiang first?" Bin smiled affirmatively. "You are Hua Kuang, right? On the documents, it was written that you were training the Vong Lin system. I just found out that I have a basic understanding of this aspect and can guide you." Hua Kuang's face was gloomy. His whole body was so angry that he was shaking. What a joke, guide me. This person's gas is normal. Even though I can feel the existence of my energy, I am absolutely not better than myself. I still don't know if I can win or not. I even pretend to be crazy. Damn, I'm just a normal person and yet I open my mouth to call my seniors all kinds of things, and even send cute faces. As the eldest young master of the Hua family, acting like a spoiled brat to this type of person is truly shameful. Bin raised his eyebrows. He knew that if the president was too young, he would end up being looked down upon. Before being dragged out of here, he had to show off a bit. Did you just try to probe my energy? Hua Kuang's face darkened. How could he know that he was clearly less energetic and could feel my probe? Bin smiled, looked at the other guy, said it right? In his heart, he secretly thought that if he didn't feel his probe, his efforts in refining the chaotic star map would be in vain. Bin moved his finger slightly. I knew he was not convinced, put his energy in and then used his hand to give me a try. Hua Kuang's pupils have shrunk. The energy in his body is running crazy. Does he want to be beaten to get revenge? If I go the right way, you won't have the strength to send an SOS signal. He smiled. As an excellent student at the academy, he had never thought that he was not as good as the teenager in front of him. Suddenly, the energy in Hua Kuang's hand decreased significantly. He was shocked. What is this? Why is it harder than ever to stop gathering energy? Did I just exercise too much and lose strength? Bin's face was dark. How could this brat know that my hand made everything? His hand behind him continuously condensed nearby energy. But Hua Kuang's head was full of sweat and he silently grumbled, how did it become like this? The energy seemed to have clearly frozen right before my eyes but was not affected by me at all. Bin suddenly raised his hand and shouted loudly, huh? Hua Kuang didn't have time to see clearly. The moment the energy was emitted towards him, the moment he was hit by the energy, he was pushed several meters away. Seeing this, his heart sank. What is this? Obviously, only powerful people have the power to influence the flow of surrounding energy. Reaching the 9th level title allows you to control your energy to the limit, and it's not a problem to grab things from afar or ride the clouds and ride the wind. Isn't this person's energy inferior to mine? But just now the energy in my body was operating in a very strange way. There is no doubt that it was created by this person in front of you. Could it be that he is deliberately hiding his energy? Are there really such young high-level powerhouses in this world? Only level 9 powerhouses are eligible to be awarded titles by the Federation. Each title represents the absolute strength of a certain field. Hua Kuang finally spoke up, slowly daring to ask what his senior's title was. The male lead silently assessed that this young master was very smart and even knew how to ask for his name. But we can't talk too much about this, otherwise it will be exposed if we're not careful. You're not even worthy of asking for my title. If you're not convinced, try 2 more moves. Hua Kuang heard that and said decisively, please advise my seniors. I only saw 2 undead pet beasts crawling out of space. Hua Kuang no longer talked nonsense. the idea passed on to the pet beast to attack Tabin. The male lead took a step back and took a defensive stance, at the same time reminding them that they were both level 6 bloodline, facing 3 corpse beasts and soul eater beasts. The 2 summoned star pets immediately took action, gradually spreading a cloud of dark mist around them. Tabin looked at the overwhelming smog and thought, it was a miasma that was disturbing his vision. Suddenly, 3 corpse beasts shot out from the smoke. Their body was like a giant with many parts of different structures. Tabin was ready to take a defensive stance to avoid the attack, escaping the first attack of the crawling reptiles. I can't help but sigh, its name speaks of the fighting environment suitable for it. Even though the strategy starts at level 6, there are no swamps here. Attacking on dry gravel will not bring out its full potential, it will lose its advantage at level 5 at most. While training in the land of Dragon King Manhwa, he constantly used Kim O's magical body to fight, and now he can stably release 70% of the power of Kim O's posture even though it is not perfect. Currently, his actual strategy is the middle level 6. He raised his hand to grasp the golden light that only he could see as he waved his hand across the space in front of his face. The star pet's muddy arm was immediately cut off, and Hua Kuang's star pet let out a scream and crashed to the ground. When Hua Kuang saw this happening, he did not expect that a random swing of the hand from the teenager in front of him would make him collapse. Hua Kuang summoned a pond and brought it there to recuperate, but the situation was not as Hua Kuang had planned. He wanted to use the 3 corpse beasts' soft thighs as a cushion, erasing the sound of footsteps moving closer to Tabin. The male lead chuckled, that's a good idea, but if you don't skillfully avoid it to avoid side effects, it's just a nonsense argument. At the same time, the thick fog of soul-eating beasts gradually spread out in all 4 directions, in just a moment enveloping Tabin inside. He laughed coldly, how dare you sit there and wait, to see how I can drag you out. In the place where the Dragon King passed the test and raised him, he always heard the dragon soul roar. So this time he imitated the dragon's scream to see how powerful it was. He suddenly inhaled, wanting to strengthen his throat into something else. Tabin put all his strength into inhaling each full stomach, instantly pushing out everything he had just inhaled. The energy attack also included an additional sound. The soul-devouring beast was beaten and couldn't help but retreat dozens of meters and let out a roar. Even Hua Kuang in the distance widened his eyes. This was a dragon roar. How could humans have the ability to create the roar of a dragon beast? The moment he received the dragon roar, both of Hua Kuang's star pets fell into a state of unconsciousness. In this chess game, Tabin clearly won. Even the pet beast has not been summoned yet. Tabin slowly took a breath, and at the same time withdrew his hand. In my heart, I secretly thought that these 2 star pets were low-level opponents to me. Even though I used all my strength to emit the dragon roar, it was a fake after all. The power was only 2 parts of the original's maximum, but it was completely abundant when used to scare these demon kids. Hua Kuang was also shocked and repeatedly retreated. Isn't that the pet skill of a high-level dragon beast? Why can a battle pet master also master it? How can the human body make a powerful sound? So, Tabin smiled, just using his energy to strengthen his body a little, nothing strange. Although his 2 adorable pets have very weak fighting skills, their physical condition and temperament are not too bad. Hua Kuang was speechless for a moment. He called my undead pet cute, he really had good eyes. Hua Kuang was as excited as if he had found a secret. Using the undead pet was a pleasure. Furthermore, normal battle pet masters did not have much knowledge about fighting them. Seeing how they were caught off guard was doubly satisfying. Suddenly Han was angry again. It was just that the process of raising a spirit pet was too difficult. He was criticized and despised by the classmates around him. Even the teacher in class looked at me with strange eyes. The most unbearable thing is that the awareness of ghosts is as little as digging sand in the desert. It takes 7,749 days to get a single seed. Today, being lucky enough to meet a senior is really a meeting too late. Tabin rubbed his forehead to interrupt him. I realized that. In the past, you won based on the advantage of your star pet. This side of you can still fight people of low level or the same level, but once you meet someone who understands, the threat of your weak demon strategy will be exposed. Right. His voice was very calm, but each sentence made Hua Kuang's face change. He knew Tabin was right. Senior, tell me what I should do. Suddenly, Tabin pulled out a lotus flower from his body, emitting a blue aura. Hua Kuang immediately recognized this item and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. This is not the legendary Min Vong Bone Lotus. Tabin smiled. Yes, this thing can improve the comprehension ability of undead pets. Only if you master enough skills to turn the situation around or execute different types of tactics. Of course I will tutor you in your command abilities. Hua Kuang smiled happily and clasped his hands into fists. In this market, there was someone who offered 5 million and couldn't buy this to feed the undead pets. Do you want to use it as a gift to meet me? Tabin roared directly. Give me your head. The tuition fee for level 9 is 10 million. The personal care fee is 1 million too. The car rental fee to get here is 3,604, paid before stopping the babysitting service. I appreciate that you have an eye for goods, and in the future I can sell you more of the undead pet food. Hua Kuang couldn't help but salivate. His heart exclaimed. Min Vong's lotus bones unexpectedly sold for 1 million too. Even though the total cost combined is much lower than the market price of Min Vong Bone Lotus, he still intends to provide it for a long time, which is truly a bargain for me. Hua Kuang quickly nodded in response and happily thanked Tabin. The first handsome Tabin Longjiang was now ready to end his tutoring period. He also professionally advised his student to remember that the next time your pet encounters a flying pet, you should first drop a few more layers of bone spears. The bone javelin can also block attacks and can also be used to counterattack. Finally, he used the fog to poke out the blood spirit to transform the enemy's range and slowly destroy it. Hua Kuang seriously took down Tabin's instructions. But Tabin calmly nodded. That's it, I'm leaving. Hua Kuang was next to the palace car to see off to Tianboi. The two parted like that. Suddenly, Hua Kuang looked at the taxi leaving and was startled to remember that it seemed he didn't have Tianboi's contact information. The car drove Tabin home. As soon as she opened the door, her mother saw that Tabin was no longer interested in continuing to watch TV and asked kindly why she came home so late today. Tabin looked at a full table of food. What kind of holiday is today? There are so many dishes. In his heart, he secretly sarcastically said that Lil Delang Wei usually left him only a little bit of leftover rice and soup. He suddenly glanced at his sister sitting on the sofa. There's nothing better than having a hot meal made by his mother after hard work. Tabin quickly finished eating, greeted his mother and went upstairs. Entering the private room, Tabin started practicing again. He was cultivating and thinking. Today, thanks to Kim O's level 1 magical body, he can develop a level 6 strategy. But if I meet someone who is good at tactics and knows how to make those 2 level 6 star pets unleash their full power, I can only rely on the little bone. Self-strength is still not enough to be confident. But now he is stuck at the level 3 bottleneck, relying only on cultivating the chaos star diagram. I am afraid it will take several more weeks to break through to level 4. If you could buy the original force pill in the system store, things would be different. The system opened the store for me. With a ding, the store opened. Sure enough, it wasn't among the products on display. In his heart, he secretly lamented that divine power pills really didn't appear that easily. Each display product renewal costs up to 100 points. Or should we try again? In the moment the energy was removed, new products appeared. Tabin looked back at each item with the greatest value, the middle-class animal set. Tabin looked at the details of the item, which was used to catch wild animals, and it seemed to be a good item. But the higher the level of the animal, the lower the catch rate. Even if the small meddler can't beat level 9, having this item still has a 25% chance of solving it. It is truly a divine weapon. To prevent mistakes, he selected the buy button. The system immediately changed the list of items. He changed his mind immediately. How could he change so quickly? This time there was no machine to catch wild animals nor a divine power pill. It seems that there is a small book with a sky-high purchase price. A book on the basic spirit control skill of a battle pet master. Tabin couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Damn, it requires 50,000 energy points. What the hell is spirit control? It's just a primary product. If you choose to buy it and can't use it, you'll become poor when you're poor. But what if it's a perverted skill? But what if the system continues to innovate and produces divine power pills? Is this thing worth buying or not? In the end, he himself made a choice. Su Bin still chose to buy it. After all, it was a skill book that the Battle Pet Master bought and he should be able to use it. The moment the energy point was removed, Tu Bin felt as if the entire essence of heaven and earth surrounded his brain, trying to penetrate. He silently submerged in that sea of knowledge. When Tu Bin woke up, he didn't know how much time had passed outside. He knew something had changed and wanted to try it. Tu Bin raised his arm towards the desk. He was only thinking in his head. Suddenly, following his call, the glass of water floated in the air and flew straight to his hand to hold. Su Bin's eyes widened and he couldn't help but get excited. A skill that was rated as elementary did not expect to have such a powerful effect. Just this one move in real combat can absolutely impersonate a high-level powerhouse. This spirit control skill, to put it bluntly, is to use energy to control and distance. That said, if you want to use energy to influence external objects, you must compress and condense a large amount of energy. This process needs to be repeated continuously, until the essence is trained into a solid. After being completely reinforced, the essence can easily destroy and create solid items. This is level 9 title level strength. War pets below level 9 do not have the ability to control energy like that, nor do they have the ability to control energy to solidify. At most, it can only release weak energy to improve the body or equipment. These energies, if there is no object attached to them, will quickly dissipate, not to mention moving objects. Unexpectedly, the spirit control skill actually gave me the ability to solidify my energy. Tu Bin feels that this system is full of luxury goods. He started trying again, wanting to know what his limit was. Tu Bin's blood boiled in greeting. He gritted his teeth and began to control his entire body's energy. Suddenly the bed under Tu Bin began to vibrate. Just moving from this distance made him feel extremely difficult. In his heart, he secretly thought that by activating his energy now, it was estimated that he only had about 100 pounds of energy, which was far less than what he wanted to use to fight. He suddenly exclaimed awkwardly, originally intending to change his vitality pills to increase his energy. This time I feel even more lacking in energy. Time passed quickly. A few days later, early in the morning, Tu Bin rode his iron horse and raced down the road. Suddenly, I received a text message. I have a discussion at 2 p.m. Please arrange a time to avoid being late. His feet kicked hard. His speed was faster than sitting in a car. On the way, someone noticed his speed and was surprised. Su Bin was secretly proud in his heart. After mastering the skill, using flexible control to make the car wheel float could achieve this effect. There was still a lot of space to develop flexible control. At the place Tu Bin was heading, in front of the gate of Fuang Sun Academy, 7 to 8 young people were surrounding 2 Fuang Sun students asking questions. I heard that in the academy there is a person named Di Pao. He seems to be very brave, right? Are you familiar with him? Fuang Sun students felt threatened and immediately took a defensive stance, exaggeratedly saying sure. Who are you? What are you looking for, young Master Deep? The other thug heard the answer and immediately knocked on his head. I knew but I didn't call him out here to welcome him. Didn't I know that we people from Kiam Lam Academy were coming? Student Kiam Lam saw this and laughed and happily witnessed the bullying, but the other student could not bear to be looked down upon and used force to push the thug away. You guys don't have the ability to bully us. If you have the ability, then go in and find Deep through yourself to see if he even bothers to put you in his eyes or not. Student Kiam Lam saw this and immediately bent his arm, speaking proudly but also daring to fight back. I have to teach you. As soon as he finished speaking, a cracking sound rang out, accompanied by a pitiful cry. His arm had been removed. His accomplices laughed. Are you guys willing to go find Di Pao now? Fuang Sun students had to obey and wanted to find Di Pao. The oligarch stepped on the road with one foot, blocking their path. What do you want to do? Don't you guys want me to find Di Pao? Dai Viam haha laughed. What else? You just pushed this boss. Do you think that's it? Go through my crotch and crawl inside. Kiam Lam's students quickly chimed in. Why bother with Fuang Sun trash? Get through his crotch quickly, haha. The two people from Fuang Sun Academy of course refused to be humiliated and continued to resist. You can hit me but you can't insult Fuang Sun. We are not trash. The long-haired guy next to you keeps threatening. Your request is strange, so I will grant it to you. Just as he was about to punch, a hand suddenly grabbed his wrist. The person who came was clearly Tabin. He slowly opened his mouth. Let them go. A group of Kiam Lam students angrily said, Who the hell are you? Tabin's eyes suddenly changed. He gently used his hand, and the long-haired man immediately knelt to the ground in pain. He opened his mouth again. I said let them go. After speaking, Tabin immediately let him go. A group of Kiam Lam students were cold, but Dai Viam said nervously, Hey, you dare to touch us, Kiam Lam? How bold is that? Interesting. As soon as he finished speaking, several thugs slowly surrounded Tabin. Fuang Sun's students immediately recognized Tabin's identity, and were so frightened that they almost called teacher to. And Tabin signaled not to speak, smiling lightly and signaling to leave. Hearing Tabin's words, Dai Viam frowned. Are you also a disciple of Fuang Sun? Kiam Lam's students saw Tabin gasping for air and started laughing at this man who was still riding an ancient bicycle from a century ago and still panting like that. I'm dying of laughter. How can you even learn from someone while driving like that? And Tabin did not pay attention to this group of kids with dirty noses. He slowly took a breath to regulate his breathing, even though he ran like he was flying, consuming a lot of physical strength and energy. Dai Viam put his hands in his pockets and stepped on the front wheel of Tabin's bicycle. I think you should stop cycling in the future. Walking is more appropriate. Tabin smiled without objection, only seeing a black aura around him. Then the surrounding air was like an invisible hand that quickly pressed his body down. Dai Viam looked at him angrily, wondering what had happened just now, attracting the attention of others. The leading man thought to himself, that's not right. I didn't see his action just now. This person is not normal. His comrades on the side shouted, What the hell did you just do? Tabin silently looked at him. Nothing happened. He touched me and I fell down. That's all. When the man was about to strike, Dai Viam sat down on the ground and angrily shouted, Go away, he is my prey. Dai Viam felt angry and greeted. In his heart he was angry. Dare to attack me? I will let you do business. At the same time, he quickly pulled out the summoning space. The ground moved slightly, suddenly turning into a roar. The giant golden pan dragon jumped out from space. This was a high-class bloodline gun beast. As soon as it came out, it showed its ferocity. Dai Viam proudly said, You can force me to use jade tokens, worthy of praise, but you should die, ha ha ha. Feeling the owner's fervent fighting spirit, the giant golden dragon hero continuously let out a series of roars. When Tabin saw this, he silently sighed. It's really troublesome. If I don't have to receive Fuang Sun's salary, I don't want to get involved. He looked at his watch. He was about to start studying. Tabin said, Can you guys go up together? I'm in a hurry. At the same time, in Vice Principal Lao Dong's office, I heard that you have a student called Deep Hao Thien Tai. He has easily reached level 5 in his 3rd year, and can't beat the Silver Snake and Lightning Dragon Beast. There, on the left is Master Fine Yan Bak, Senior Master of Kiam Lam Academy, and on the right is Vice Principal Uncle Van Thien. Uncle Van Thien smiled and said this time, Please be gentle in this pet exchange competition. Dong Min Tung ha ha laughed. The news is really quick. Once it's out, I won't pretend anymore. The previous exchanges won a lot. This time I'll let it go. Chu Van Thien smiled so energetically. He didn't win many times. Wasn't it a draw? Many useless words. We will meet in the arena. Next to Lak Kok Tuyat, he smiled awkwardly and interrupted, asking if all the students of your school have arrived yet. We need to register. Fine Yan Bo slowly said, No problem. They said they wanted to walk around. They were preparing for the match. I told them to come here. In just a moment, Dai Viam's eyes and nose were blackened. He fainted and said hello to Professor Phi and Vice Principal Uncle. All of Kiam Lam's students were injured, not lightly, and their faces were gloomy and unsightly. Fine Yan Bak saw this and immediately exclaimed, "What are you doing? I don't know if there will be a competition the day after tomorrow. Why is it like this?" Dong Min Tung, who was watching the play on the side, couldn't help but laugh out loud. The group of Kiam Lam students rampaged unruly in Fuang Sun. Each person was beaten to a bruised face by Ta Bin. Seeing that both Lak Kok Tuyat and Dong Min Tung were shaking from laughter, he couldn't help but shout loudly. "Are you all dumb? Don't you dare do it? Don't say a word and wait to be punished." As soon as Dai Viam heard the punishment, he quickly raised his hand to report. He shouted that he was secretly attacked by Fuang Sun students. Lak Kok Tuyat and Dong Min Tung, who were laughing and joking, were also startled by these words. Dong Min Tung secretly thought in his heart, when will our school have such strong students? He quickly asked if it was because of our students. Uncle Van Thien on the side had a gloomy face. What the hell is going on? Who injured you guys? To be clear, don't arbitrarily tarnish people's reputation of Fuang Sun. We were chatting while finding our way. The other person heard our voices and knew it was the exchange team. Without saying anything, he immediately took action. We are subjective. Uncle Van Thien spoke again. If he dares to lie, the old man will be absolutely punished without mercy. Is that true? The group of students suddenly fell silent. No one answered. Seeing this, Dai Viam slowly turned his head and looked angrily at everyone behind him. They were oppressed by his authority and quickly nodded to admit, yes, that's right. Uncle Van Thien patted his chair angrily. Okay, is this Fuang Sun's way of receiving guests? It's really funny. Dong Min Tung intervened. Do you know that person's name? What does he look like? Dai Viam thought for a moment, then remembered saying, he's the same age as us. Student with short hair. Seems to have the last name too. Dong Min Tung's face changed. His last name is Tu, isn't he Mr. Tu? Suddenly Ta Bin's communicator rang. Ta Bin connected the phone and heard that Dong Min Tung's voice was unusual. Dong Min Tung at the other end of the transmitter saw the connection finally being made and breathed a sigh of relief. You're not even ashamed to ask me what's wrong. Did you beat some of Kiam Lam's students today? Ta Bin conveniently turned off the practice screen and nodded to admit that he did it. Yes, is something wrong? Dong Min Tung almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The problem is big. The people he beat to the ground are contestants who came to interact. Kiam Lam's people are looking for him to settle the score. Ta Bin frowned. I just woke up to a lesson. Didn't I still have one arm and one leg left? How dare they come to me to settle the matter? They were the ones who acted first. There were 2 Fuang Sun students as witnesses. Based on you, you should be able to find those 2 people. But Delegate Dong said, they couldn't testify for him, because someone wanted to hide the truth so they silenced them. Lying on the hospital bed were clearly the 2 students in difficulty. Hearing that, Ta Bin's eyes suddenly darkened. Do you need me to give you an explanation? Dong Min Tung also heard an unhappy sound in Ta Bin's voice. I believe that you will not act without reason, but Kiam Lam's people are not sure that I will find a way to resolve this matter. Don't go to school these days, otherwise they will attack you and I won't be able to protect you. Having finished speaking, he hung up the phone. After realizing that he was splashed with dirty water, Ta Bin opened the guru network of the Longjiang base. He proactively contacted Hua Kuang and asked him to help him with something. Time passed quickly. At this time at Fuang Sun Academy, the annual exchange competition officially began. The wise man shouted loudly, over the past 9 years, Kiam Lam Academy has maintained an excellent record of 8 wins and 1 draw. This year, Fuang Sun Academy can break Kiam Lam's undefeated myth or not. Let's wait and see. Fuang Sun faction sent out 5 third-year battle pets, each of whom was a heavy player in the annual tournament. As he finished speaking, Ji Pao led to Yen Din's group out with cheers. But the owner saw that Kiam Lam Academy only sent 1 person, a third-year player.